Camden National Bank is celebrating 150 years of supporting the communities of Maine and New Hampshire. And it's all thanks to you. From one location in Camden to 72 banking centers today, our journey has only been possible because of your trust and loyalty. One thing that remains constant is our commitment to giving back, from supporting local businesses at Autumn Gold in Ellsworth, sponsoring the Seaside series in Stonington, to helping the elderly at Acadia Senior College. We're grateful to have this vibrant community be part of our story. And thank you to our partners, Down East Famous, that's celebrating the people who make this region so special. Here's to the next 150 years together.
Welcome to the Down East Famous podcast. I'm your host, April Shaw-Beaudoin, and I am joined by my co-host, Jena Young. She is a hospitality entrepreneur here in Bar Harbor, and we are thrilled to be chatting with Jon Stein of Fogtown Brewing Company in Ellsworth today. Thanks so much for being on the show, Jon.
So good to be here. I'm excited.
Great. Well, we're going to dig in. So, Jon, Fogtown has been open since 2017, and I would love for you to start with your origin story. I think you have a background in biochemistry, and I know that you're really passionate about creating community. So, do you want to talk about how those two things converge to create what you have?
Yeah, there's definitely, it sort of reflects the brewing art, the brewing science as well. It's sort of this spectrum. People have been brewing for thousands of years before we knew what microbes were and before we knew how to change water chemistry around to make the perfect beer. So in that sense, it's sort of this traditional, art, but it's also a science. So the more we learn about the science, the more we can apply that or choose to apply it to the brewing scene. So that kind of reflects my history. So I was pre-med biochemistry in Colorado College. And that was sort of my maybe trajectory, was to go into medicine at some point. And things changed, and I ended up going on this around the world journey, trying to figure out, who am I? What am I going to do? I still don't necessarily know. But at some point, I ended up at a small brewery in Christchurch, New Zealand, and ended up on a work exchange visa there. And I was interested in homebrewing before that. I homebrewed in high school before I could legally buy beer. I was interested in making it, both sort of like the mystery behind it, but also the science behind it was fascinating. So I learned, I went from sort of homebrewing knowledge to industrial brewing knowledge at that brewery, came back, and then in construction and building, and ended up in Maine with a good friend who I ended up co-founding the brewery with. So I was up here, thinking about, I want to start something. I want to create this community hub somewhere where people, feel safe, and I can curate art and music and do all the things that I love to do. And breweries were really that sort of mecca for me over my young adulthood. They just always seemed like such a cool place, and people were passionate, and they fostered community events. So we ended up in Ellsworth, and Ellsworth did not have a brewery, and it just sort of seemed like the perfect fit. So it was, it was like the right sort of thing to start to realize some of those other dreams that I had.
Ellsworth has been very business friendly. We had Darren from Provender Kitchen on a couple of weeks ago, and he kind of reiterated some of that stuff. And I know you've had a business in Bar Harbor and in Ellsworth, and you're now a town councilman in Ellsworth. Can you talk about some of the differences between the two towns?
Yeah, they are very different. Bar Harbor has, to me, more of a small town feel. I feel totally comfortable, well, especially now that I'm on city council, but even before, as this sort of new person, a nobody in town with very little history there, going into City Hall and just meeting with the manager, walking into his office and saying, we've got this idea. What would you think about us starting a brewery? We don't really have any capital. We don't really have the know-how, but we have this dream. And he said, hold on, let me bring in some people. He brought in the economic development officer and code enforcement and fire inspector, and we all sort of sat around a table and chatted about it, and everybody was very excited. They were like, we're not sure how you're going to do it, but we want it here. Let us know how you can help. So that was really important, especially as a young entrepreneur, having that support and not immediate sort of backlash or somebody pushing against us. That said, we were the first and really the only production brewery in town still. And it was unclear to the city how to regulate us. We have all of these regulations from Department of Agriculture to the Maine Liquor Board to town regulation. And since we were the first and only, nobody quite knew. So I had to do a lot of research and sort of bring it to the fire inspector and say, look, this is what they're doing in Portland. Here's how I want to do it. Is this okay? So it's been a learning experience for the whole city and for me. But the important thing was that sort of that back and forth and the support and the excitement from the city.
Amazing. And Jena, have you been into the Ellsworth?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is like you enter into a different world
It's
when you
incredible.
go in there.
And also what really strikes me is that you continue to improve the space, to grow the space, to be flexible with the space. And I know as a small business owner who's grown over years, it takes a lot of energy to constantly be almost outgrowing what you have and then needing to add to it. Now you have live music and food, and I've been to fundraisers that you did there for the community school, and it feels good.
Yeah.
I am really intrigued by the fact that you created it from the ground up, an old space that you renovated. What surprised you the most about the journey?
The thing that continues to surprise me are all these things that I think are going to be impossible, and that continually I keep discovering are possible and are doable. Still not easy, but everything from the really minute or really like zoomed in challenge of, well, I've got to put a door here where there's a window in an old brick building with this like 3-layer brick that's been there since 1920. And it's hard, and the cement is really hard. And I've never done much masonry, but the fire inspector says you need a door here to be safe. So that's like totally an impossible thing. And then a week later, I'm jackhammering the thing. I've got like an engineer telling me what needs to be put in, and talking to Mainers who are so incredibly knowledgeable about materials and building, as so many people are around here, and just like figuring out that.
So overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
It's a series of challenges that you're overcoming.
Yeah.
Does it ever get easier to overcome the challenges?
The challenges stay difficult, but the mentality of there's definitely a way to do this, and there's somebody that knows how, and I can probably figure it out.
And you've seen that. You've proven to yourself time and time again that you can figure it out. So, right, the mentality changes where it's still hard, but you're not as resistant to it, probably. I want to talk about your product. What sets Fogtown beer apart from others? What are you known for?
Well, specifically, we're known for a couple flagships. Those are like our top sellers. We do the Maine Coast IPA and the Night Nurse Stout. The Night Nurse was an accident.
Night Nurse has been around since the beginning, hasn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
It was one of the first brews that I came up with. And one of our tanks, our temperature regulators, broke. So we had this really bizarre temperature fluctuation where it got really warm, then it got really cold. And temperature, just like so many other variables, affect the yeast and how the fermentation takes place and affects the flavor profile. And the results were really great. And when it disappeared, when we ran out of the last keg from that batch, we had a bunch of locals like really upset and demanding it come back. And so since then, it's been on tap ever since. It's our top seller. It's one of the top selling stouts in the state.
So you have a couple that are always, you can always count on them to be there.
Yeah.
And then the others are seasonal or change.
They're seasonal. Yeah, they, just like the expansions, they keep things exciting and interesting. So we just this morning brewed we call it aquaculture. It is brewed with 100% Maine grown grains and like weird stuff too, like triticale, which is this heritage grain that they grow up in Aroostook County, and wheat and barley and spelt. It's all grown and malted in Maine. And we mash that on top of a bed of pine boughs that I harvest,
of course,
from somewhere. And then in the boil, after all of the grains are mashed and mixed together, we add 200 oysters from Deer Isle Oyster Company. I think I'm wearing their hat.
Yeah.
So that's a really exciting one. So
do you have a name for that one yet?
aquaculture.
Oh, aquaculture.
Yeah,
okay, I thought that was a type of beer. That's the name of it. Okay.
It's a saison. It's like really charismatic with grain. It's savory, a little bit briny from the oysters.
What a perfect name for it too. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So depending on the season, what you can get, you experiment. Do you experiment in small batches first? That would stress me out.
Yeah.
To do a giant batch.
It is especially with like expensive ingredients. But at this point, it's sort of like cooking. Once you do it enough,
Okay.
even if you haven't made something, you understand the ingredients well enough to be confident. I mean, I still mess stuff up all the time, but we can do a 200-gallon batch. That's sort of our like
Okay.
smallest pilot. And it's enough to last on tap for a few weeks at least. And if that's good, then we'll brew it. We'll sort of double that size and go from there.
Sounds so unique.
Yeah, that's the exciting thing is like, well, this month all the spruce trees are tipping out, so we make a spruce tip ale. Some month the blueberries are ripe, so we'll harvest a bunch of blueberries and put them in a beer.
Yeah, that's neat.
Otherwise, I wouldn't. We're always striving for the best quality possible, but Maine has such great breweries, and we have for such a long time. So it's nice to have these, brewing institutions like Allagash and Maine Beer Company to aspire to, and they can certainly make an incredible product. So we're not claiming to be the best beer in the state or anything, but mostly what people want is the opportunity to try new, interesting, unique ingredients and to like enjoy the experience of the space while they're doing it.
You can see that?
I had some pizza when you and I met, and it was really delicious pizza.
Thanks.
And I know that you also have non-alcoholic options on tap, or there's a pina colada on the menu. What other things do you offer for people who are coming to sit down? And they can take out too.
Yeah. We're doing salads. The food has been a really interesting challenge since we started doing pizza. We built ourselves a masonry oven with some buddies of mine who are masons. I helped. They did most of the work. I laid some rows of brick. That's about it. But after a season, you realize that that's sort of a bottleneck. This oven is really cool. It's sort of this backyard style, but it can't keep up with demand. And now we're getting really popular for pizza sales. So we need to buy an oven that's actually commercial. And even that oven now can't keep up with the demand, and everybody orders at the same time for dinner. So we get delays. So now we need salads and we need mac and cheese. And,
Yeah.
to
To spread it out a little bit.
Yeah. And to sort of save the fire a little bit, so not everything has to go in the oven and take time. So we're always experimenting, which is exhausting, but it's also fun. And every once in a while we discover something that is a hit and that people like. And so we keep those going as well. The slushies are fun. They're certainly not a money maker or like really easy, but they're really fun to do. And then we can offer these strange cocktails and different takes on cocktails there in the garden bar. We got a soft serve machine, so like the kids.
There is a lot. That was a good question because I didn't realize a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then there's live music. How often? I'm not sure.
At least once a week,
Okay.
usually twice or three times a week.
Do people find that on your website, social media?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're posting on Instagram and Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
And our
Another
website.
thing to manage and do.
Yeah.
As a small business owner.
Fortunately, I have a dedicated communications
Okay, good.
person, and she does a really great job. She does a lot of our artwork as well, so the beer labels.
I'm so curious about that. I know April obviously really appreciates a strong brand, and the Fogtown brand has been so consistent and it's so recognizable. But also you do tweaks to it as you go. So, you have the Fogtown, but then you do different pieces of artwork. Is that what your communications person works on as well?
Yeah, usually she's sort of those tweaks that you're noticing are like fixing old things.
Okay.
I mean, so much of this we started, my former business partner and I started before we knew anything about what we were doing. So we were excited about this brand and getting our logo done. So we had a local artist friend do a wood carving and press it, digitize it.
Yes, I remember that.
And then the text, we're like, that's cool. It's all hand carved. Okay, how are we going to scale that up? We only have this one wood cut. We got to figure out how to like create an alphabet from it.
Yeah.
Got really convoluted and weird. So we're like, all right, how do we
Digitize this, right?
and change it? So it's tweaks every year. It keeps things fresh, but it's also like fixing past mistakes. Oh, we're realizing that that's sort of confusing and we've got to go back and alter it without making too big of a change that might upset somebody.
Yeah, exactly. It's a strong brand.
Let's talk about Fogtoberfest. So what can people look forward to? Do you have a special beer, like a pumpkin beer? What do you bring out?
Pumpkin beer is a contentious topic.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever made a pumpkin beer, and I don't know if we ever will.
Oh.
Nothing against pumpkins.
Played
Maybe we'll
out.
get there. Yeah, it's a little played out. No, we start this time of year, actually earlier in the summer, we start to sequester our special favorite beers. We have a corner of our cooler that's all kegs that we've taken before we run out. So that when we get to October, we've got like 40 or 50 different beers that we've really loved, that we've made for the last year. Depending on the style, they keep really well, and some of them will make a little closer to the event. But we wheel out all of our portable kegerators too. So we've got like 30 or 45 beers on tap. We give everybody these little take-home glasses. They're 5-ounce commemorative yearly glasses, so they can go around and get samples of everything. So it sort of is like our own drink fest, beer fest.
Yeah.
So people can get little bites of special pizzas and try everything, especially if they've never tried a style or if they missed some release that we had over the summer. It's also toward the end of the high season, so a lot of the locals and the year-rounders will sort of come back out from their high season days and get to try all the stuff that we made throughout the summer.
What is the date for this year, or the dates?
I think it's October 17th. It's usually the third Saturday of October.
And people can check your website, but sometime around there.
Yeah.
So you saying you pick your 40 or 50 favorite of the year. How many beers do you make in a year?
So many.
It sounds like it.
We've got between 20 and 25 on tap all the time.
Oh, wow.
I have a head brewer now who's trained in Germany, and he's like very by the books and very organized. And he is a master scheduler, and that's really all it is, because we've only got like 8 tanks that we use. So it's a matter of brewing and kegging everything up from the tanks and refilling them with different beer. But we managed to keep about 20 on at all times. And then they cycle, as I said, the spruce tip season will run out, and then we'll do our oyster beer. So it's constantly changing. I'm also doing all of our ciders and wines as well. So some of those go on tap too. So it's a lot of different products.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And how many people do you employ? Do you know that number?
In the summer, I think there's 16 of us in the summer.
16
and maybe 7 full-time year-rounders.
Yeah, and you have a communications person, which is not something that every small business owner prioritizes, which is really important. And I'm glad you do that. But I also think it's important for people in the community and beyond to know what the challenges are of running a business, because they walk in, they see a smooth operation, and they don't think about anything else beyond that. And sometimes if someone's in a bad mood or they don't like the server, they go on and leave a bad review. And and you don't really have a chance, or small business owners in general don't have a chance to find a platform like Downey's Famous in this instance, where they can share about what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And so I would love for you to be able to, and you have been talking about that. Are there other things that you want the community, you wish they knew?
Yeah, I don't know. Most people that own small businesses around here understand the seasonality challenge. And it is a challenge of, especially somewhere that requires a lot of talent. And a lot of training. There's small restaurants that don't necessarily, you can hire bartenders, but once you get to the level of, say, a side street where you need bartenders who are quick and know what they're doing and know the people, and same with the chefs, it's tough to close down in the winter and say, sorry, we don't have work for you for 6 months. We'll see you next summer, because they won't necessarily come back. And it's also very tough to pay everybody through the winter, because we rely, especially the service industry, so much on the high flow rate and the tourist dollars, and just kind of packed house every night, which doesn't happen in the winter, generally speaking. So that balance is really tough, especially like I said, the camaraderie and the teamwork is really important to me and to a lot of small business owners. And so to say like goodbye to everybody for 6 months and shut down and leave the state, or I don't know what else, but it's tough, because you want to keep working with these people and you want to keep building. And oftentimes the slow season, the winter, is the time where you're able to expand and build new shops, new parts of your shop. So yeah, I guess I'd like to just remind people that that is the challenge that everybody's dealing with, and we all sort of deal with it in different ways. And so when it looks like people are stressed out in the summer, well, it's hot, and yeah, maybe we've been yelled at by a tourist who's too hungry or something, but we're also stressing about, like, can I make enough money this season to really keep me coasting through the winter, to keep on the people that I need to keep on? And will I be able to keep them on and pay them through the winter so that they can work at their best next summer as well? That's something I'm always thinking about.
That's so well stated.
Thanks.
I mean,
Think about it a lot.
I don't think I've ever heard someone say that it's really a challenge that almost everyone has to be feeling, but we don't talk about it, but we all know that it's there. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
I've taken a few different like business classes. I'm sort of burnt out on that. I don't think I'd ever want to take another business class, like a Zoom thing where everyone's sharing. But so the SBA Emerging Leaders Program accepted me into one of their things over COVID time. And it was helpful, and I learned a lot. And the most interesting thing was that all of these different businesses, there was an owner of a construction business in the Mid-Coast. There was an owner of like a float tank shop somewhere around here. Yeah. Like any kind of small business you could imagine. And all of our strife, all of our challenges, and like a lot of our good takeaways were so similar. Just there's this like problem employee that I'm not sure how to deal with because managing people is so difficult. Or there's this one challenge that I can't quite seem to overcome. And we were all like, yeah, we've all seen exactly that, even though our businesses are so different.
Yeah. What are you most proud of when you take a step back and look at Fogtown?
That is the trick. So like being so stressed and then being able to take a step. Usually it's walking into a busy event day or evening in the beer garden and seeing either a fundraiser or a musical act that I'm really excited about, or probably the best thing is some sort of collaboration with a number of different organizations. We did a Frenchman Bay Conservancy event. It was a fundraiser, but we also brought in a band, and that band was even a mix of a bunch of different bands, and there was like 200 people there, and everyone was happy, and there were children running around. Just being able to step back for a second and see like, oh, this is that sort of like dream event space that I thought up of years ago is happening, at least in this moment.
It is, yeah.
Next moment, somebody might, I think the next moment, like a picnic table broke and a family went flying across the beer garden.
But that one snapshot.
Was good, yeah.
Yeah, that's really, stepping back and being like, wow, I own this. I created this moment for people with others' help. But
it's hard. I can't always like take myself out of the troubleshooting and stress zone to get there, but I try to.
Anyone who knows Fogtown knows how important local sourcing and sustainability is to your business. And I don't feel like we've really touched on that yet and how important it is. And I'd love to hear more about how you see your business fitting into the local food ecosystem that we have here.
Yeah, it's one of the most important things to me and to us all at Fogtown. So many of these collaborations that we've had, events, fundraisers, whatever, have just been like other organizations coming to us and saying, would you ever be interested in this sort of event or this type of fundraiser? And then we like do it and learn how to do a fundraiser event, and then we progress into the future. Similar to farmers, we've had like farmers come up to us and say, hey, I've got 500 pounds of cranberries in the back of my truck. Do you want them?
Yeah.
And I always say yes. And then I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with these cranberries? Inevitably, I'll come up with some sort of like cranberry wine. So yeah, that is always really exciting when there's like a local grown, foraged, harvested thing. And people start to know us as this hub that is interested in food systems and can process food. And so we'll have like everybody from local foragers come and bring us like chicken of the woods mushrooms, hen of the woods mushrooms. And
wow,
like, okay, now we've got to come up with a pizza special or something. So we're small, so we're pretty nimble, and we can come up with like a special to use these weird ingredients pretty quickly. And on a broader scale, we try to create sort of like a systemic use of local foods. So we do have these standing orders for a bunch of local farms for our vegetables for the salad. The most of the grain that goes into our pizza dough is Maine grains, so it's grown locally. And then there's a number of initiatives that we have that are sort of like exemplary that don't necessarily make a huge like lasting shift in the food system industry around here, but sort of show how things could be done. So for example, we have a partnership with Chickadee Compost in Blue Hill where they take most of our spent grain, which is the residual product after we brew a batch with barley. They take it, they compost it. A year later, they'll bring us compost back.
Oh, wow.
And it's just this barter system. And, you know, we're not paying them, but we need the service to get the grains out. They're not paying us, but they get all this grain to compost. And their thank you is, here's a bunch of compost that we put in our garden. We grow vegetables in it. We put the vegetables on the pizza. People eat the pizza. Very cool. We also have a farmer that takes the spent grain and feeds it to his pigs. So a couple years ago, we bought some suckling pigs to give to the farmer. I never got to like hold the pigs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, you know, through transactions, they got the pigs. They fed them on the spent grains. They went to slaughter. We got the meat. It went to a local Colvard & Company sausage company. They processed the pork. They made it into sausages. We put it on our pizza. So it did not make money. It was like an expensive process, obviously. But it did show that we could sort of touch all the points of this food circle.
And it lights you up. It aligns with your values.
Yeah.
So it brings that fulfillment. This is why I do love this podcast and the stories, because there are a handful of people who know that, but there's a lot of people who have no idea that you're that invested in it. And I'm really excited to hear about that. So thank you for sharing it.
And now we get into
Okay.
the most exciting part of the podcast.
Is it going to be lightning?
No. So, Jon Stein, are you open to a lightning round?
Yeah.
I'll ask you a series of questions. None of them are that hard, but just whatever comes to mind for you.
Okay.
Okay. What is your favorite of all time Fogtown label?
I think it's the scupper, which I have a version of it on the back of my shirt.
Can he show that? Because I
Yes.
commented on it when he walked in. It's like, yes.
Ooh.
It's rockweed, so it doesn't look all that striking, but it is an interesting
Yes.
shape, and we put the seaweed into our beer, made
Oh,
a
wow.
seaweed saison out of it.
That's really cool. What is your favorite Fogtown beer that you've created? That's got to be hard, but
My answer to this is usually whatever is newest.
Okay.
Whatever. Usually it's whatever is like the first beer that a new brewer makes after they've gotten trained enough to be confident. So, like,
yeah.
I built this new recipe. Here's my whatever ale.
That's
And
really cool.
It's not always the best beer, but it's always my favorite because it's such a cool thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What is your favorite brewery aside from your own?
Oh, I love Oxbow Brewing Company in Newcastle. They're in Portland as well.
Yeah.
They were a big inspiration getting started, and I didn't overlap, but the founder went to the same college that I did, and we had that connection. And they have a really good product and interesting brand. Yeah.
And we didn't touch much on your role as a councilman, but I do have a question. What is your hope for Ellsworth in the next 10 years?
Gosh, so many challenges. Growth, thoughtful, sustainable growth.
Yeah.
It's been a tough few decades, I think, in a lot of sort of old guard and status quo and infrastructure challenges. It's a unique city. It's
Right.
really big, and it gets a lot of like wear and tear from tourists, but not a lot of tax dollars because it's not many people live there, but a lot of people use the services. So the challenges of infrastructure and water and roads and affordable housing,
Yeah.
because like everywhere around here, having places for people to live so that they can work in small businesses and keep the small businesses going is so important, and it's such a challenge. And I think Ellsworth can tackle it and is starting to, so that's exciting.
It seems like it. I see a lot of shifts there. What is one Ellsworth business that deserves a shout out from you or business owner?
Oh, I love Precipice Coffee.
They're the sweetest.
They're so nice, and they're like so ingrained in the community as well, and they're small. They're just like roasting everything themselves by hand with
Yeah.
these solar powered coffee roasters.
And
And
can we talk about their cookies?
cookies are
They're
so good.
addictive. They make these delicious, salty chocolate chip cookies. So that's a great shout out to Precipice.
And the savory stuff too, like
Yeah.
the breads. Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah, definitely worth a visit.
That's a
I'm
great
going
one.
to stop there on my way home.
Yeah. You
All
have
right.
survived the lightning round. It was a mellow
Yeah, that was
lightning
nice.
round.
I got my pulse up a little bit.
You made it. You made it to the other side.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and for all of our listeners and watchers who want to come down and support you in person or online. Can you tell them where to find you?
Yes. All right. If you're in person, come to beautiful Ellsworth, Maine. It is basically smack between Bangor and Bar Harbor, and we're nestled in a little downtown neighborhood that you might not know otherwise unless you seek us out. And online, we're at fogtownbrewing.com and on the social media at Fogtown Brewing.
Perfect. Thanks so
Yay.
much for being on the show.
Thanks, Jon.
Thanks. Great to be here.